Hi, so I wanted to make a video on YouTube because right now I have kidney failure and I'm awaiting a kidney transplant, and so I wanted to have these to look back on and explain what happened. And also, I've been looking recently for other young people with kidney failure or need kidney transplants or on dialysis. And I haven't really been able to find people on YouTube, so I thought I'd make some and then track my process and getting the transplant. So, about a year ago, it was July 2016, I woke up with just like a pain in my stomach, and the past couple of days I hadn't really been having an appetite at all. And I woke up at like 5 in the morning with this pain, and I couldn't go back to sleep, and I kept moving, and no way was comfortable. And I told my mom at like 8 or 9 when people were up, and she's like, oh, let's go to the doctors. But I didn't really want to because I have a high pain tolerance, and I was like, oh, it's fine right now. Because I'd been having pain before, and I went into the doctor, like really low pain, and they didn't find anything wrong. And so then I ended up throwing up, and I just felt really nauseous, and the pain wasn't changing at all. So I went into urgent care in the morning, probably around 12 or 2 or something. And so they were doing tests, and they were putting me on pain medicine because my pain started getting really bad in my stomach. And they did a urine test and blood test, and the blood test came back for levels in my pancreas, and they were like off the charts, whatever it was. I don't know what they were testing, but they're like, you need to go to the hospital right away. And so we drove to the hospital, and I was already on pain medicine, so I don't remember much. But I know I got wheeled into the hospital and went up to something. This is to the point where I don't really remember. And they're giving me fluids and a lot of pain medicine and IV. And then my kidneys also shut down, and they found out I had severe pancreatitis, which I honestly don't really know what pancreatitis is, but it is one of the most painful things in your abdomen that you can have, I guess, which all the doctors told me. And mine was so severe that they sent me to a different hospital so I could go to ICU, intensive care unit, because it was very severe. And I think they were just giving me fluids, and like this is at night. I either went there the next morning or that night. I don't remember at all because I was on super high pain medicine because I was in a lot of pain, and I have a super high pain tolerance, so it was terrible. I was like crying all night, I guess. And so either that night or the next morning I got into ICU. And by this time I don't remember anything. But I got a dialysis port put in, which is connected to my heart. You can't really see it right now. I have a Band-Aid. But it's a tube connected to my heart, kind of, that pumps blood through. And I started going on dialysis right away, I think. And I was about this size when I went into the hospital. But when your kidneys fail, if you don't know what your kidneys are, it flushes toxins out of your blood and your body. And it also is what makes you go to the bathroom, like pee and stuff. And so I couldn't pee anymore. So all the fluids they gave me, which was a ton because I was dehydrated, I retained all of them, and I gained about 40 pounds of fluid in like a day. And I was huge. And I don't really remember, but I know anyone that came and visited me, I was like, I'm not going to be this fat for that long. Like, I promise. I looked pregnant. Like, my hands and feet looked pregnant. I'm going to insert pictures or something, but and then I got the dialysis port in, and I got put on dialysis right away, I think, which is what cleans your blood out, because if you don't, your body will fill up with toxins and you'll eventually die from it, obviously. So, um, and I couldn't eat or drink at all because when you have pancreatitis, that's one of the things that's supposed to help stop it. And I think also my liver started to shut down. But I don't know. I was on so many pain medicines, thank God, because I don't remember a couple days. But it was terrible not being able to eat or drink. I remember that. They would give me these little sponges on a stick that were like this big, and they would soak it in water, and I could suck on one like every hour or something, which was nothing when you're super dehydrated. And then I remember my grandpa flied in from New York, and then I remember a couple days later, this is the first time I remember, is when a couple of my friends, my ex-boyfriend, who was my boyfriend at the time, came and visited. And I was just super happy to see everyone. My favorite teacher came and visited me, and it was just really nice to see people. And then the next thing I remember is I was moved up to the 8th floor, which was the cancer floor, but they wanted me on it because then all the germs and everything would be taken away. I would just be prevented. And I remember I was getting dialysis every other day, I think, for I don't know how long. But I started going down to the little dialysis center in the hospital. And I slept most of this time because I was still really sick. I don't remember much. I was in a lot of pain. But I also was getting blood thinner shots in my stomach, which was super painful. I don't know why those shots were so painful. And then I also had another thing, like my dialysis port in my arm, so then they wouldn't have to poke me every time they wanted to take blood. And then I also had an IV in, and I was getting a lot. And then I think about a week or two later of all this, they couldn't really find anything. Nothing was changing. My kidney still never came back. I know my liver came back, and my pancreas still hurt, but I started being able to eat again eventually. And I don't know what, I think it was about a week and a half or 2 weeks later, I went home, and I was throwing up a lot. I don't know, I couldn't do anything. I know I started going to the bathroom again, like I had a little bit of urine output, but I was just doing really bad. I was throwing up, I couldn't really breathe or anything, and so I went back into urgent care, and my oxygen was really low, and I just wasn't doing well, so I got put back into the hospital. And then it was the same thing. I think I got a feeding tube put back in, which I didn't say, but I had that in the beginning. It goes from they put it in through your nose to your throat, and they give you feeding through it, since I couldn't eat for a while. And it was basically the same. I was just laying there in pain, and nothing was changing. And then one day I got super sick. I had a temperature of over 100, and I just felt terrible. And so they tested my blood, and I had blood infection, which I don't know what blood infections I had, but it was like a staph infection and something else, which probably got from my IVs or central line or the dialysis port or something. And so I got transferred to a new hospital, which was a way better one, but I wasn't severe enough at the beginning to go there, which is crazy because, like, what? I was very severe. They said this was the most severe pancreatitis case that they've almost ever seen in a long time. And so I ended up at that hospital, and that night they took out my dialysis port, I think, because that had the infection. And so I had no IVs or anything in me. They put new ones in, but I didn't have my dialysis port. And then I went in to a surgery that night, which I believe they took out part of my pancreas. which is called a necrosectomy. They might have put a stent in to drain fluid or something. I'm not really sure because I don't really remember any of this. I was super out of it, obviously. So I got that done, and then I remember I got in a new room because at the beginning I was sharing a room with the old lady who was kind of crazy. She kept coming over and talking to me, and she said I don't know. And so I was in a new room, and everyone there was super nice, and I started feeling a lot better for the first time since the beginning. I started having less pain in my stomach. My kidneys were still failed. I was still going down to dialysis and everything, obviously. But I started feeling a little better and actually being aware of things. Like, I actually remember things at this point. But all I really wanted to do was go home, but I was still there. And I had to get a new dialysis port put in, which I remember this time, and it's scary because they give you an IV with some medicine that like makes you loopy, but you're not knocked out. And so they cut into your heart and everything, and you can just like hear them, and it was scary. But the nurses and doctors were really nice. And then eventually I was good enough to go home. I was off oxygen. My kidneys still failed, but I had a lot less pain, and so I really wanted to be discharged, and so for a couple days before I needed to be eating like 1,000 calories, I think, a day, and be able to hold it all down and not throw up. And before that I was eating probably like 300 calories a day without the feeding tube, just like with food, because I had no appetite, and so I wanted to go home so bad that I was eating so much, and it was disgusting. Ugh. I was just eating high calorie foods, like milkshakes with a ton of sugar that they had and all this stuff. And so I finally did that, and they wanted to wait to do a second necrosectomy, which is taking out part of my pancreas because I had dead tissue. They wanted to wait to do the second one until I was outpatient. And then they thought that maybe the reason I got the pancreatitis was from my gallbladder, so they wanted to take that out when I was outpatient too. And so I ended up going home, and I was still like 130 pounds, by this time I was probably 115. Actually, they started taking a lot of fluid off in dialysis, and so I was still a little puffy, but I went home and I could walk a little bit, and I felt okay. And then, I'm not sure when, but I went in for another pancreas surgery and got that out, and then in about November I went and got my gallbladder taken out, and then a lot of the pain resided. I don't have any more pancreas pain anymore. The surgeries weren't too bad, but I still have kidney failure. And the whole time I was in the hospital, they were telling me, oh, like, we think your kidneys will come back since you don't have, like, kidney disease or anything. It was an effect of the pancreatitis. But after 3 months, there's basically they're not coming back. It's like a 0.5% chance they're coming back. And so after going to 3 months of dialysis, they're like, well, you are deemed chronic now, which means they're not going to get better. So now we need to move on to you need to get a kidney transplant. And so in January 2017, I started that process. And now I'm still doing that process because it takes a long time. I'm trying to find a living donor. So I'm trying to find someone that will be a match for my kidney, and I'm doing it at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. And now, because I was doing it at the U, but I wanted to switch to the Mayo. So now I'm doing that, and one of my friends and my sister are a blood match, and now they're seeing if they are a kidney match too, which is a lot of testing. So I'm hoping that I'll have that soon. And then I'll get off dialysis and be able to go back and start college, because I was supposed to start college the month after I got sick. I was supposed to start it then, but I was still in the hospital. Oh, I was in the hospital for 5 weeks too. I got out at the end of August or the beginning of September, and I went in at July 27th. So I didn't say that. But yeah, so I've been on dialysis for over a year now, and that's like a whole different video about dialysis and the side effects and just about it. But I just wanted to do this one for a first one for me to look back on, for other people with kidney problems to look at, for people that know of me but don't talk to me to get more information. I don't know, just because. So, I guess that's my video. Thanks for watching if you watched all of this, and yeah.